How is everybody?
Good.
Nice. I
Good.
see some
Good, Dylan.
familiar faces. Coy, where are you out of? Welcome, Coy.
Bellingham, Ferndale.
Awesome. Nice. Right on.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, man. Were you on one of the BTC
Yeah, I
things?
just did a course and I just actually took the test the other day for my SPI.
Congrats, man. Yeah, nice. Getting your pest license. Good for you. That's
So
great.
you had Dylan and me for instructors, and we don't remember you.
I know, isn't that great?
That's terrible. It's but
I didn't run my mouth enough in the class, apparently.
I do sort of recognize you, but
I no, I do too.
the names go in one ear, not the other, and I'm not the kind of person that remembers names. Yeah, I
One thing
remember
it's
my own pretty well, but
One thing that's weird about being a home inspector on a little island is like if I go out in like town, I feel like everybody knows who I am, and I can't remember. I don't know who anybody else is, So
yeah,
I feel like Mick Jagger or something. I want to duck into a club and hide my face.
You heard about him. Nobody knew who he was. We went into that bar
I
back.
know that was pretty funny, huh? I thought that was hysterical.
That's awesome. It probably is. He's desperate to feel anonymous
Oh
sometimes.
yeah, it must have been great for him to actually have that happen. Let's see. Oh, good. We got Alex coming in from Massachusetts. That's cool. Fun to see the whole gang coming in here. And hey, John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Dylan. How are you?
Good to see you with the northern lights above you.
Yeah. It just hides my background.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got a green screen, and I'm not actually sitting in my dining room.
Well, we'll keep waiting for people to come in a little bit, and then see who else is going to jump on. Alex, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Who's Scott?
Scott Saunders.
Yeah, we got Big Scott. Boy, Scott saved my life in Kentucky with a bunch of waters. That was big. Thanks for that, Scott.
He hasn't got his audio on yet. It's working.
Yeah.
And that was when it went, didn't it, Scott?
Hey, I can hear you now. I'm having trouble. I missed all that. What's going on?
Oh, we're done now.
We were just talking about you.
That's what I figured.
We had to get it all in before your audio worked.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. My audio wouldn't kick in, but I got you now.
All right. I'm just trying to. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah.
We'll wait a few more minutes and just see what people are coming in. But it seems like we have mostly experienced scribers on here, so I don't have to spend a lot of time on the finished report. Coy, you're probably newer to it, but when I do these, I try to kind of go over a few basic things.
I don't know that I'd go that far.
Yeah. Well, the big new feature that we're kind of excited to show off a bit is this idea of gunny sacking. And I know that sounds a little funny, but I'm starting to use it in the field now. And I just love it. It's saving me a ton of time and helping me write reports more quickly. So I actually kind of brought up, I wanted to start with, this was a house I did the other day, a 1913 Craftsman in Seattle, which I love this house. It was actually, boy, if you do houses in Seattle from 1913, they all have settlement in them. I mean, it's so rare to find one that doesn't, but this one didn't. It was really pretty level house. But this comment here with these sort of bullets and headings I was able to do with the gunny sacking. So I can kind of show you guys how I did it. These are time-consuming comments to put together. So we actually have a couple scribers that were early in on the sort of beta testing on the gunny sacking, both Charlie Buell and then Mike and Kalen, Mike Parrish here. And so these guys have been working on gunny sacks for a while. I'm trying to work on them on my template. But I am excited. I think possibly we might be able to have like some different gunny sack library for sale or something, so that, because they're hard comments to write, and I'll kind of show you the back end to them. But does everybody here use the kind of scribeware photo captions to bullets feature to comprise a narrative? You don't use that much, Alex? Interesting. You're muted, by the way, which is fine, but I
Sorry, I don't. No,
Okay.
I haven't. I see the benefit of it. I just haven't got there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and so the bullets to caption feature, does any, Coy, maybe I'll show that for you when I get to the back end to kind of explain what I mean. But Coy, just so you get it, we're looking at a finished report, and if you're not familiar with these are kind of HTML reports. So it's kind of like an interactive website for your house. It's all secure. You can kind of click into different areas of the report. We can view the full report. A lot of the descriptive narrative kind of hides to the background. And then all the more sort of bigger comments, we can kind of color code them and have them kind of pop out to the top. So we could shoot up to this electrical comment real quick. But kind of classic old 1913 Craftsman, where there's like a whole bunch of wiring stuff. They haven't totally rewired. So there was like a ground stuck in the plug. We had active knob and tube, running splices onto knob and tube, some exposed wires, some loose boxes. You can see we do streaming videos.
Dylan, does the blue help you sort down through the list?
Yeah, the reason I chose the blue, and I kind of stole this from Mike and Kaylin, it just helps me see. It's like my title, kind of. So it helps me see quickly, what comment I want to choose.
I mean, I've been bolding them, and that helps too. But I just I like the blue. All right.
No, it looks pretty sharp. So, but boy, all these pictures. What my behavior when I was out inspecting was. And this was really cool. This revolutionized for me the gunny sacking, like how I think about collecting data on a job. As soon as I knew I had gunny sacking, as soon as I approached a system in which I knew I was going to have multiple defects with the same system, all I did was take a picture of it and caption it. I didn't try to get it done on the mobile app. I didn't try to write the comment. And it just saved me so much time. And I'll show you kind of assembling this later, but all of this stuff, I was able to just go click, 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 and it took me like a minute to assemble this comment that looks really detailed. It's got all these different photos and captions. And, I took a little time and put a couple, annotated my pictures a little bit, but this was kind of what the comment looked like. So I'll show you kind of on the back end how I constructed this. Let's see, we could almost deconstruct it and rebuild it. So it is kind of a mass of yellow when you look at it all sort of filled out. So we could go through and actually kind of maybe I'll just bring up a different one and show you. I don't want to butcher that one too bad. That was not a live report. It's a copy of one, but so Coy, if you're new to Scribeware, you can pull up any comment from your library using a keyword search. I'm just going to type in the word bull because I knew that in my title of this, I have the word bullets. So that brings this comment that I want. In this case, I've switched over to deck. So there's an old deck, numerous repairs needed, repair or replace, right? So I built, and we've got John on here. John is actually working on a library for Sterling inspections, and he's done some really cool things with it, some of which I'd like to see more of. But this is kind of new, John. So you can actually make these columns. Now, if I don't select any of these columns in yellow, none of that'll print. So it's all still kind of hidden from the finished report. But when I have a deck with a lot of problems, I can now click on the ledger board and I can make a list of all the possible issues with the ledger board. So it's not been bolted correctly, it's installed over the siding, the hangers are corroded, and lateral load connectors are missing. So boom, there's my little list.
Do you have some of the blues bold and some of them light, not bold, correct?
Yeah, I think I have a few places where I use some color and bold to accent bigger problems.
Yeah.
So we look under guards. Well, it's a horizontal guard and there's large openings in the guard and the guardrail is loose. and there's notched posts. So boom, 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 boom. I mean, geez, I just made 4 observations there. If we go under floor structure, I use quite a bit of bold in this because I'm getting into like, anabid damage and frass, like the deck's really starting to fall apart. And so I wanted those to kind of stand out. So I used bold. You could even use red and have them be red. So what I really love about this ability is one of my goals for Scribeware is that everybody's reports look slightly different. And there's a lot of ability to kind of, add nuance and edit these. And I'll show you how you build them and edit them here in a little bit. We could go to stairs and double click on stairs. So we've got, let's say, an overnotched stringer and a cracked stair stringer. Close that one off. So let's preview this real quick, but we can show you in preview.
Dylan, this is Clark. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Clark, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Is this like a major update to Scribeware?
Yeah. This is kind of, and I'll show you how to build these, but we're calling this the Gunnysacking feature.
Cool. It's kind of like some of the mobile stuff, right?
Well, it's really different. I mean, we've got a full mobile thing, and all the Gunnysacks work really well on mobile.
Right.
But this is actually kind of taking, we've had text replacement for a while where you can, create text that you can replace, and this is sort of putting that on steroids. But I don't you guys think that's a pretty good looking comment here? I mean, boy, and that just took me like, look at how much detail I put in there. I mean, I just went and added like 8 or 10, or more different like specific comments of what's wrong. And I just went click, 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 click. And then again, if your procedure on site is like, look, the deck's a mess, I'm just going to snap pictures and caption them. That's all I'm going to do. And you don't even have to caption them, but I like to, and I use the voice to text to caption things, which is pretty fast on mobile. But either way, just you snap a bunch of pictures, and I'm not spending 2 seconds thinking about building that comment as I go, frankly, because it's just so much easier to go through on the desktop later. You can do all this on the mobile, but I just find it kind of faster and easier to assemble the comment at home on my computer, and it also, like, I have found that if you're doing like a detailed inspection via the mobile app, it's kind of hard to like get everything done. I mean, it starts to mentally wear on you. You've got to like look at the whole house and stuff. So what I'm really learning for me on mobile is if the system is completely in front of me, and I know what I'm going to say about it, there's no reason in the world I won't get that particular comment done on the mobile app as I go. So if there's corrugated waste pipe under the bathroom sink, like that's just too easy. Like I click a couple boxes and click a picture and I'm done with it. But a system like a deck with a lot of problems, a roof, a siding with a bunch of problems, electrical with a lot of problems. Those are kind of my 4 main ones, but I'll show you some other places I used it in this last report. And this was one of my favorites.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
When you're out in the field and you do just what you said, which is just take pictures, do you put them in this specific comment? So you open up this comment, but don't fill it in, but take the pictures within that comment?
You could do that. I like to just leave them in my gallery because it's just faster and easier for me as I go, because they just automatically go in the gallery. But Alex's point is good. On the back end, if you wanted to, what you could do is just, all right, there's going to be a mess on the deck. You could build, a checkbox for yourself that, boy, there's an old deck and numerous repairs are needed. This is my old comment that I used to use before the Gunnysack. And now that I have the Gunnysack built, I'll build a new little checkbox for it. We could even do that today. I can show you how you do that. But then you could just dump a bunch of pictures in and actually assemble it later if you wanted to. And this all is fully functional on the mobile app. I'm finding it liberating to like have this clear place when I'm on a mobile device to know when to try to work on the report and when to try to just gather data. And that to me feels very liberating. And it really is interesting. I feel like there are certain things that are faster and more efficient to do on your computer than on the mobile device, even though they work on both. It's just more efficient. I can kind of assemble the comment really quickly. That make sense?
Yeah.
And that totally makes sense, because with this software and my previous one, I would always vacillate between the two. Am I trying to write the report or am I just getting data? And that's a great point. I've never heard it phrase like that. So thank
No,
you.
it's really like, and there's something about this particular feature that just the light bulb went off for me, and it became so clear to me, and it sped me up on site so much because here, let me bring you to if I open up that report again, can you guys see the this report here? It's like
Yes.
kind of blue on the top. So here, think about a craftsman house. Like, what's the first thing you think of? 1913. It's the freaking windows, right? I mean, I don't even have to go into this house, and some of them are single pane. Some of them don't meet modern safety standards for, where we should have safety glass. There's going to be some cracked panes. There's going to be some missing sash weights. There's going to be some broken sash ropes. There's going to be some loose hardware. There's going to be some missing hardware. There's probably some paint failure, right? I mean, have we all been there? This is like every old house is like this,
All like that.
So I'll show you what I built there. Like, if you go under my windows now, I just click old wood windows note, boom. And I've got a comment that, like, some of the windows in this house are old, and these old wood windows require maintenance and repair. You need to decide how you want to approach the windows in this home, as they're generally older. They don't comply with modern standards for safety, glass, and energy efficiency. Repairs can be made on an as-needed basis, and efficiency added with storm windows and curtains. Existing windows that have character are often worth preserving and restoring, where windows that are in worse condition and have less character may be good candidates for replacement. Windows are in fairly typical condition for old wood windows. Examples of repairs and observations noted during inspection include, you double click on that and there's a whole list of stuff. Now, if we want to add to this list, so I'm like, oh, bummer, I'm missing something. I just can click edit, and there's my list, and I can start going down here and just adding more things onto the list, and you just hit save when you're done. But we could open it and start making a list. Some windows in the home are not operating, maybe painted shut. Glazing is missing from some of the windows. Single pane windows, safety glass issues, guillotine windows. Now, see, the guillotine windows I put in kind of a red font to try to emphasize the safety issue there. So I actually think within these Gunnysacks, you can use bullets and some different coloring and stuff, or bold and coloring to help kind of emphasize certain things in the list. So loose hardware, boom, boom, boom. So, man, I mean, now you've just dealt with this whole freaking mess where there's all these problems with windows in an old house. And I just got one comment, old windows, and I'm going to go boom, 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 boom. So it was, I left this house with such a smile on my face because it presented all the classic old house stuff that, I used to write these tortured narrative paragraphs that would go on forever about all the different problems with the windows. And this was just so much easier. And I think, frankly, for the client, it's just a lot easier to read,
You might have had 4 or 5 narratives about all that, and each one would have said who was to do the work and repairs and everything else. And here you can do it with just that once.
That's exactly it, Charlie. And, one thing I found for real estate agents, I remember, this was years ago now, but I did a report and they're like, Jesus, you had 60 repair items. And so I was like, all right, I'll look at the report. And in fairness, when I looked at the report, I was like, wow, I had 8 repair items for the water heater. I had 10 repair items for electrical, and so in a way, when you don't use this Gunnysack approach, I think your reports there's some risk that they don't weight things properly. The house can look worse than it maybe is, when in fact, if we just, if you did update the water heater and get an electrician in and clean up the electrical, and we fixed a lot of stuff. So it reduces the number of observations in a report, and I think makes it a little easier too to like recommend, well, we need an electrician. And this old window one, if you wanted to, you could make it a major concern if they were really bad. So you can just switch these around if you need it. Hey, we got some new guys coming on. Hey, Kaylin, how are you? And
Good. How are you?
Good. And we got John on here. Hey, John, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see you guys.
I think it's better for the client too, because the client says, okay, I'm about to read a section on Windows, and not like what you were saying earlier.
Exactly.
Like, right.
Yep.
You get these little novelettes throughout the report instead of a random list of narratives that don't make any sense. They're disconnected in their.
And it gets us out of that problem of like when I read a lot of people's reports, under electrical, when there's a lot of electrical stuff, it always ends up reading like open junction boxes were noted, hire a licensed electrician, loose wiring was noted, hire a license, and it's just so repetitive, and it's so apparent that you are sort of just checking boxes. Now, that's the beauty. I mean, to me, what we are working towards with Scribeware, the holy grail we're in search of is a report on the back end where you're just checking boxes, but on the front end, you've convinced the client that you just spent the last 8 hours writing it. I mean, that is what we're trying to achieve. And I really think this is a technique that kind of gets us a lot closer to that. And as I said, it even like transformed how I thought about data collection on site, which I thought was really exciting. So, there were certain things on this job that, if there was in the powder bathroom, if there was a slow drain, I would just hit that and take a picture of it. And these are the text replacements, you guys, that you can use anywhere. But so like I could click on that yellow and I could switch that to powder bath. So that's how our text replacements work. So
if you have multiple issues, but they're in separate bathrooms, but it's all sort of fixture related, like let's say on the supply side, do you put all those in one gunny sack, or because they're in different bathrooms, do you?
Again,
you can do it either way. You can have it.
Yeah, that's right. And I actually, when I read a report, my personal preference is I'm going to avoid doing too many gunny sacks, because I think it can look funny if the whole report is really bulleted. I kind of like the weight and feel of it when I have a few bulleted comments and a bunch of like kind of the old way we do it. And again, my metric really would be if the entire system is in front of me and I know exactly what I'm going to say about it, and it's kind of the only thing in that bathroom or under that particular section under sink, then I might just go ahead and use my old approach for it. But again, like an old house with windows, that's a perfect gunny sack. Another one Charlie thought of that I haven't used yet, but chimneys. There's failing mortar, there's some spalling brick, the cap is deteriorated, there's organic growth. Like chimneys are just ripe for a gunny sack. So, if you guys are into it, I could kind of show you constructing a gunny sack so you can kind of see what it's like. And then, as I said, we've got some different scribers building out various gunny sacks on their own. So we will try to kind of have some resources to make some available, hopefully, because they are time consuming to construct. But why don't, as a sample, should we build a chimney one?
Yeah.
Then the cool thing too about a gunny sack, let's say you have one for bathroom sinks. There's 4 or 5 lines you could click on to open up different aspects of the sink, whether it's the countertop and the cabinets and et cetera, et cetera. But if you walk into a bathroom and all there is something wrong with the squiggly drain, just use the drain part. And
that's right.
Then it still looks like a regular narrative.
Yep. So like under my bathrooms, Alex, like I actually might leave all of my sections the same. I might build one gunny sack for bathrooms and just put it in my general bath condition. And then if the bathroom's a complete nightmare, I could just hit that one comment and go like, boy, this bathroom, it needs a full remodel, and I know that the sink doesn't drain, the corrugated waste pipe, and just have a whole ton of them there. And that way, when you get that wreck of a bathroom, you could use the gunny sack for it. But if it's a perfectly fine bathroom that just has a slow drain or whatever, then I'd just use my old method.
Got it. Yeah. And that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie.
So chimneys, we could start a new comment here. So here, it looks like I started one, numerous repairs to multiple chimneys.
I made a chimney gunny sack last night.
You did? That's awesome.
I did.
Well, maybe let me build this, and then maybe you can show us your gunny sack. That's going to be our new marketing campaign for Scribeware is show us your gunny sacks. But I mean, it's seriously like there's so much technique to these that they're really cool. There's a lot of different ways you can organize them and use them.
So many ways.
Yeah, and
bullets within the gunny sacks and. Yeah, just pretty cool.
Okay, so what I might do then for this is this thing is where I'm going to set it off. Examples of visible defects noted during inspection include, and then if I double click on failing mortar, this was my old way of doing it, where I could just choose a bunch of them and it would make a regular list. But let's actually edit this. And here's the magic where if you just pull this up originally, it might look like this, but we're going to allow multiple selections. And then as soon as we allow multiple selections, we're going to choose bullets. Now, as soon as you do that, are you following me, John? Because I know this is something I want you to be aware of. As soon as you check bullets or numbered, they create, you get a little option to put a title in. So that's where I actually might put.
And for now, my advice is to always put a title in there, even if you don't want to use one, which you don't have to. Put a title in there because there's a little bit of a bug right now that will mess up your head if you don't.
Thank you, Charlie. So, and I might want to like put a little like bold on here. A lot of, I think I've actually been using all caps for these often, but I don't know, you can do them differently. So now let's open this again and you can see some of these are checked. So let's get rid of these checked ones. So now that's all you see. And I want to get rid of this one because that's redundant. So now I've got numerous repairs are needed to the masonry chimneys on this house. And I could click that and just say chimney. So it could be plural or singular. Recommend additional inspection of chimneys by qualified mason. Implement repairs as recommended. Examples of observations and repairs noted during inspection include. Double click on it. Failing mortar, spalling brick, excessive leaning, and inadequate cap overhang.
That's so awesome. You don't have to click on the box itself. You can click anywhere on the
That's right.
line.
You can just click. I love that Steve did that. So you don't have to work all the way here. You can just kind of go down and click right on these guys. And you can see I'm still building these. I mean, this is not a comprehensive list as I would like it, but I'm doing my best to start building these out. Does that make sense, guys? Does that, I mean, how you build them? I mean, it's basically, we could do a skylight one real quick.
On all your ones you showed earlier, you would then explain a little bit about it on each line, right?
That's right. And you could add more to that, so like if we double click on this, if we wanted to edit that, we could, do failing mortar and then, do a little hyphen and maybe add a little more of an explanation. And that's a great point, Alex. This is where the technique comes in is and there's no right or wrong answer. How much information do you want to put on these?
It's where the implications go.
That's right. And I think sometimes that's exactly right. And I think sometimes the implications are implied and we don't really need to add that much. And then other times, if it might be confusing to the client, I would kind of explain more. And honestly, there's certain things like, a good one that comes to mind would be escape and rescue openings where I'm even if I include those in a gunny sack, I might use my old narrative that's got illustrations and a bunch, there's a lot to escape and rescue to sort of unpack. You might even be able to take your old escape and rescue comment and turn it into just a note or like a descriptive thing so that it's more like fades into the background and isn't such a repair comment. And the fact that it's a repair is now kind of lumped into your gunny sack. So that would be another sort of technique or way of kind of changing things around, if that makes sense.
Like almost every defect has some informational aspects, and you can put the defects part in the gunny sack and the informational part in the description. And that's a way that I've been dealing with getting those links that you lose. Like you got some informational links you want to have. Well, you can't put them in a gunny sack, but you can put them in a description. So you can work around it that way. Someday maybe we'll bug Steve and get him to give us.
So, Dylan, can I run a quick question by you?
Please.
The title that you assigned to that gunny sack is kind of what the text that we used to use for a drop-down list, the replacement text values.
Yep.
because we tend to come at our reports from a hybrid approach rather than a systems or location based report. I find that I like to reuse those lists in different places. So if I use the same title for that Gunnysack in another chapter, for example, do I have to rebuild the list, or does the list come with me because it's tied to the title?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Charlie's laughing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can answer that question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you give it the same, if you want to use a Gunnysack in one chapter and use the same one in another chapter, you move it to that other chapter with the same title, and then you change the title in that new section. You can't copy and paste it.
Right.
So I think
in an earlier iteration of Scribeware, I'm really picky about how I put those replacement text indicators in my comments. I always set them off with asterisks. And in an earlier iteration, if I use that same exact language set off by those asterisks in a different chapter, the list came with me.
Yeah. It won't work with the Gunnysacks.
Yeah, it seems like that broke in a few versions back. I'm not exactly sure what happened.
I'm going to make a note of that. I'll ask Steve about that, because it's one of the problems I have with my text replacements. Like in my bathrooms, they now seem to be all different. And it's like, well, I want a universal bathroom text replacement, so let me talk to him about that, because we're actually right now in the phase, we're kind of done with big feature changes for a little bit, because we just want to go to the well and kind of make a bunch of little tweaks like that, just like polishing type stuff for a while. And that's been one that's been bugging me for a while. That's been really hard to get my bathroom text replacements all organized, because I pull them up and they're all different, and I know that Charlie has talked to Steve about making these more shareable. At the moment, the way you would do it, I believe, is we could edit this in library, and then when it's edited in library, see how we have chimney categories up here, John?
Yes.
So you're not going to want to do this, but if you wanted to put this chimney comment under bathroom toilets, you could do that and then just hit add as a new library entry, and that would share that comment to that library. So once you build a Gunnysack, you could share it with other sections. But that you can't, that would be the technique that I would use is I'll go back to just show it one more time so you guys can see that. But I went under the three dots here. I went under edit library, and then once I was into edit library, I'd come under library categories, and I would just start finding the category that I wanted to see that one in. Does that make sense, John?
It does.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're shareable, but it's a good point. It would be kind of cool. I don't think we could do what you're talking about with the Gunnysacks, because examples of observations and repairs noted during inspection. I mean, you might use that in a whole bunch of different Gunnysacks, so that we could end up sort of overwriting things unintentionally. But I do think we could maybe. Yeah. I would like to have a place where, like, for my bathroom text replacement, I could have like a master list of like, okay, what are all the bathrooms I want in there? And then once I choose that, all the bathrooms would be the same,
Right. So what I've done in that template that I'm working on is that I built one bathroom. I don't have a listing of different bathroom types. And I want every potential concern to be listed in that bathroom. Now, when our inspectors go and do a house and there's 3 bathrooms in it, my expectation is that the bathroom gets copied and renamed to whatever's appropriate. But every bathroom comes in with every comment
Yeah.
that is appropriate for the bathroom.
And it will.
Right. Yeah. And the language in the title of the gunny sack, does that appear in the final report? Or is that just more like an inspector note and it gets replaced?
It appears in the final report if you use the best. Let me go back to Dex to show you. So here's that whole list. These titles only show up if I use one of them. Yeah. So here's an example where I just set up multiple gunny sacks all stacked on top of each other. So if there's nothing wrong with the ledger board or the guardrail and I just go into the decking and I want to use just a few decking comments, then the only thing that'll show up, that'll show up in the report are just that decking title. That makes sense. So like,
yeah,
the first example I showed you, I just made a single gunny sack with that being the column header. But under things like Dex, you can build multiple gunny sacks and then have like a title for all of them.
Sure.
It's occurred to me that like under roofing, I'm often making descriptive comments about the roof. So I might build a gunny sack under like roof composition roofing that's like, active leak points, potential leak points, and just notes and observations, and have sort of 3 columns, and I could kind of choose, and that way, like I'm building a sort of severity in, with using the gunny sacks.
I'm just thinking of creative ways to name those gunny sacks so that I can use them in multiple places.
Yeah, I think it would be hard to build that off of the keyword, just because I would be worried that if you happen to use the same keyword, you would then accidentally create problems for yourself,
Right.
So I think the easiest way to share them is, you don't need to share them too much. And once you build them, if you use those library categories to distribute them where you want, I think that'll be pretty effective.
Can you give an example, John, of the problem you're foreseeing?
As far as, so when I do a replacement value for a drop-down list or replacement text, I don't care what that language is that triggers the drop-down, because it's not going to show up in the final report. I can call it anything I want because no one's going to see it but the inspector. That allows me to create as many of those drop-downs as I need to without them overlapping. If your language is always example of observations and defects noted during inspection include, then you're going to start that overlap problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where my question came from, as far as whether that language appears in the final report. If it does, you got to be careful with it. If it doesn't appear in the final report, you can call that anything that's appropriate to trigger your inspector's memory.
Yeah, I guess
this is what this is for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've designed this where, again, I would be trying to author these as though as soon as you select something from a gunny sack, that title will appear in the report.
Yeah, there are more titles to remind you of what's in there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they are kind of for the home inspector. Like for a deck, there's just so many damn problems that I wanted to divide them into like categories so that I could like quickly find the ones I want. And one of my rules of thumb, and let me know if you guys have other thoughts on this, but I try to, if there were more than 10 things to choose from under any one gunny sack, I might build another column because I just don't want to have to look too far. It'll start to get too much text in one place. So that's been more or less my metric. And I'm kind of green at building these. I mean, I've built like 5 or 6 of them or something. I'm still kind of working on them.
Can you show us on that last example? You built one, I think it was under plumbing, and this one has 1, 2, 3. This one has like 6 gunny sacks within that one post, or is that whole thing a singular gunny sack. Do you see what
No,
I'm saying?
this is a whole sequence of them stacked on top of each other. So
Okay.
each one is its own gunny sack. So when I click on ledger board, it'll make, it's clear in the editing mode, but here's my title. And then I just went and made a list of ledger board problems. Does that make sense? And whereas if we go to, I think the other one I was doing was chimneys.
That's right. That's right.
But under chimneys, I really just had a single comment. So here, I'll bring this one up again. Numerous repairs needed to the chimneys. And there's my gunny sack, and I click on it, and I need to improve this, but I can just go through and, that's one, it's a bit like Windows where you might just have a list, you don't need too many different columns of them.
I'm sorry to ask this, but can you just lay another one down below that?
You could,
Sure.
yeah. So watch, I could,
Can you show me how to do that?
yeah. It's a little fussy, but there, see how I got my cursor right below it? So now I could do, wood chimney chases. And this is actually would be a whole, that now that I think of it, this might be a better way to do gunny sacks, is you could say, boy, there's a lot of problems with the chimneys here, and then you could have masonry chimneys, metal chimneys, wood chimney chases. So, and then you'd be using multiple within there. So I wrote wood chimney chases. Now I'm going to highlight that. Yeah.
Hey, Dylan.
Yeah.
To save you one step, one thing I found is if you go ahead and enter that down, instead of typing in there, if you were to delete wood chimney chases,
okay,
you can, if your cursor is there, you just go up and hit the text replacement icon and select allow multiple. And that saves you from copying and pasting whatever you want your title to be. Does that make sense?
oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, but it didn't grab, when I did that, it didn't.
Well, then
grab.
you could put your title in the top and you wouldn't have to drag it from your gunny sack list to move it to your title list.
Yeah, that makes
it just
sense.
saves you one step.
Yeah. So how I've been doing it, that's good. I see what you say, is just highlighting it, and then I click the little text replacement, allow multiple selections, bullets, and then I've been just cutting this out.
See, that'll save you that step.
Yeah.
Moving that.
Yeah.
So wherever your cursor is, if you don't have any text there, if you hit that replacement text, it'll automatically open this up.
Cool. And it actually puts the language there for you.
You don't need any language, is what I'm saying. So
Oh,
then
you
only
don't have to
type
have
that
a title?
once.
Okay.
No, as soon as you select bullets on the multiple selections, it opens that title up, and then you can just type your title in.
And
I
you can
gotcha.
bold it and make it colored.
Cool.
Make it bigger.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
See,
Saves
this is
a lot of
what's so
time on
fun.
these.
All you guys learn Scribeware better than me. That's great. So, and then you start making your list, right? So we could just save that one. So now we've got,
It's always going to put one there. You have to go back out and
yeah. Does that make
Okay,
sense? You see how I just started to build that? And let's try what
thank you.
Scott was saying. He was saying you just get your cursor down there. It's a little fussy to get your cursor down there. We're still fiddling a little bit with this. I mean, this is kind of hot off the presses, but oh, that is great, Scott. Yeah, you just kind of go. You just get your cursor there, and you can start doing it. So
yeah, that's great.
yeah.
So, John Parks, I mean, you see what we're trying to drive at with your authoring of a library. It's like, in a way, you could almost have one chimney comment. It's like that, and it could cover masonry chimneys and metal chimneys and wood chimneys, and it's like, and you could say like, boy, repairs are needed to the chimneys. Hire a qualified mason or chimney sweep or other qualified party to further evaluate and repair the chimneys. Examples of what we were able to see during inspection include, and then you could just have a list of all those different types of chimneys. I mean, what we're really trying to do is, I look at like my deck library, and it's like I have 300 deck comments. It's like, it's just crazy. It's too much stuff to sift through. And so with this, we can really boil it down. And it's like, yeah, you could have just a couple of different chimney comments. And now your guys out in the field aren't spending any time trying to choose the right comment. It's all one comment, and you're just selecting the bullets that apply,
Right.
Yeah, I'd love to share my chimney if you.
Yeah, here, why don't you share some, Charlie? Because you've been building out a bunch. Let's
I want to see. I want to see what Mike and Caitlin have been doing with it.
I know, I want to see theirs too. So let me
So we
I'm gonna-
also.
I think I've made you a co-host. And I'll see if I can make Kaylin a co-host too.
Where do I?
But why don't you start, Charlie? Just
I can't get it to respond.
I'll stop share.
Yeah. All right. Now where do I don't see any option for me to share my screen. What am I missing? Oh, I got it here. Right here. Sorry. All right. I want to share the screen. You see that now?
Yeah.
You see? So, chimneys have a lot of aspects. There's location and condition, chimney tie back, a chimney clean out, mortar joints and parging and efflorescence, flashings, crickets, all of these different things you can build into one gunny sack. Now, maybe the chimney only has something wrong with the cricket, so you just open that up and you pick from your list of things. But that's how I'm doing it throughout the whole thing. And then I have a different one for metal chimneys. They're different enough that I just do that. But
Are you generally putting the comment underneath as opposed to above? Like
it varies. I vary it just to make it different. I try not to just do it the same everywhere. Sometimes it flows better to do it. This has a much more of an explanation that works better after all the detail than all of it before. But
It's funny too, when I read a finished report, I've been finding that I think they look more custom, like you just wrote it for their house, if you use different techniques for different gunny sacks. I think if they were all so formulaic, it would look more like you're checking boxes. So I kind of like laying them out all differently personally,
And you can, I'm torn between whether to have all these in here already or to pull them in later when I need them.
Hey, Charlie, an idea I kind of had, I've been organizing my illustrations over there. I thought about creating a separate diagram folder.
Yeah, exactly.
Particular to that gunny sack.
Exactly.
That way I can just go right to it and it has only the diagrams I need and I can drag them over.
Oh, that's a nice idea, Scott. So you have a little folder on the right that is like, that's sort of what we have, but make them a little more specific.
Yeah, make them specific to just electrical gunny sack.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the approach, because otherwise I don't use that much, but I think I would use it more with the gunny sack approach. But another cool thing you should know, that if you're fooling around with this and you've got some things open, if you don't have to back out and unclick all those, you can just delete it and reopen it. See, there's my one for metal chimneys here. Oops. The mouse is funny today, Dylan.
Yeah, there's something on our alpha that is weird with the way the mouse works.
So with metal chimneys, there's not quite so many things that go wrong. That can go wrong, but I have a category about hats and about spark arresters and chimney chase itself. So you can work this any way you want, but you kind of have to deal with the fact that inside of these units, you can't have all these, any of your north, south, east, west, or that sort of stuff. Right now, they won't work inside.
That's kind of why when I'm taking my pictures on the mobile and just captioning them, I'm often just putting a location in. And that way the pictures that show up, and you could say, well, open splice in the attic, open splice above the water heater, and it just shows what it is and where it is. And that's sort of how I've been adding that detail. And then you can always go into those once you make a list. One of the things that Steve really improved a lot with text replacement is you actually have to double click now to open text replacement. And when you single clicked on it, it was hard to edit them once you built them, once they were kind of in there. But now you can just single click and start adding your own language in if you need to. So if, you can put some emphasis on something, or you can put a location in really easily.
This is so great because all of this is totally editable. You can edit this, you can change this for each report, and it isn't going to affect your template, but it's pretty cool. But this is an example of how I'm doing bullets under things where you could have a whole list of bullets that would apply to the
It's cool, Charlie.
main thing. I can't think of an example of where I have a list like that, but at any rate, but that's kind of how I'm doing it.
Charlie, can you show me real quick, like what you have? I'd love to see one of your electrical Gunnysacks, and then I'd like to see some of Kaylin's, if you don't mind, Kaylin. I'd like to.
Yeah.
Come on. Slow. All right, so electrical, these are big sections. So, and I've put the thing right at the top. That's all the Gunnysacks for each section is right at the top. So you click on it, and right now I'd like it to show up in line, but right now you go down to the bottom, and basically all this list is it corresponds to this list here, so now these lists are just checkboxes. There's no issues in these anymore. These are just documentation of what you saw and did at the inspection. And some of the blue obviously are descriptive type things. But then the meat of it's all down here in one comment. Now maybe you're only going to use maybe this is the only thing you're going to use. But there's a bulleted list that's underneath this heading.
Oh, that's cool how you did. So inadequate clearances. That's pretty clever.
Yeah, because you can't do it as a drop down within it, which would be nice.
Yeah.
But this is.
Do you see this, John Parks? Like some of this stuff for the sewer scope is potentially really useful. The way Charlie was able to do that.
I'll click on this and a couple of these others, and let's see what.
Yeah, I want to see what it looks like.
So there it is.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Interesting.
Yeah. That would be ideal for the issue that we were having with the materials identification.
That's what I was totally thinking.
And you could pick
John.
a different emoji for that, but asterisk, I can tell you, won't work consistently. So don't use asterisk. I had a major headache trying to sort that out until I figured out.
Yeah, I think they tend to trigger something in the core software that it starts looking for a replacement value or something like that.
There's certain kinds of like asterisks and
the greater than less than. It doesn't like those, I don't think.
What's that?
The greater than less than. So.
Yeah, it doesn't like those. So the emojis seem to it behaves well with it, but I picked the little blue diamond. You could pick something.
It looks good too. So I like that.
Yeah. Kaylin, can you show us a couple things you're doing? I mean, this is the cool thing about these Gunnysacks. It's like there's really just a million different ways to set them up. It like the light. I hope the light bulb's going off for you guys.
It's really just mind-blowingly awesome. I can't stand it.
Lord, how much time it saved me on that Craftsman House job the other day. And I was so proud of the report. It looked great. It was easy to read. The client, I saw him open it, and like 10 minutes later, he was just totally blown away. It's like, this is so detailed, like, thank you. I just checked a bunch of boxes. It was like the total coup. It's just everything I've wanted. It made that a bunch of those hard comments easy. And do you have permission to share, Kaylin?
I'm not sure.
Here, I'll give you Oh no, you've got your co-host, so see if you can dig around and
Okay.
find that
I think I got
share.
it now.
Cool.
Can you see that?
No,
I'm not seeing it.
Oh. Oh wait, wrong screen. How about that?
no.
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 You,
Oh,
How about now?
There you
now
go.
we got it. You're good.
Okay. All right. So this is for the electrical. So I have it up here at the top of every section. That
Yeah,
way it's
yeah.
just easy to find.
Yep. That's nice and tidy.
Yeah, very
Oh,
nice.
that's beautiful, Kalen. Look at that.
Very nice.
Oh, that's so
I
great.
used emojis too, Charlie.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. I love them all over the place.
Oh, they're
It's-
really pretty, Kalen. You did a great
Thank
job.
you.
Jeez.
Thank you. I think I somewhat did one for chimneys. Let's see. Yeah.
This is just
Oh, there's your
so-
chimney one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that's nice.
that is sweet, sweet, sweet.
They look awesome, Kalen. And I like how
Thank
it's
you.
cool for the finished report the way you use some different colors with the way there's sort of a label for them. I mean, I think that probably looks good in the finished report, huh?
Yeah.
When you guys
It shows up really well on the mobile too.
Yeah, so you can see them well. What's that,
When
Alex?
when you guys make them, are you sort of cutting and pasting the verbiage that was its own comment before
Yep.
into that Gunny
Yeah.
sack? Is that how you're doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gone from when I started at Scribeware, I had 7,000 narratives, and now I'm down to about. When I'm done with my Gunnysacks, I expect I'll be around 400 comments.
Sure.
Are you serious?
That's really amazing, man. That's just incredible and how cool that like that's essentially every conceivable defect with the house in 400 comments, right?
Well,
I mean,
and think about how easy it is now. When you've got 7,000 narratives, how are you ever going to read them and correct them and fix them and keep
Not
track of
possible.
them? But as a gunny sack, it's easy to open it up and just read down through and look at it and change all the water heaters to furnaces that you screwed up when you copied and pasted. Because there's so many of the same defects with a furnace and a water heater, venting issues and stuff. But you've said in your narrative, you said water heater, and when you move it to furnace, it says water heater. So you got to change that. And it's a lot easier to manage all of that inside of Gunnysacks than it is out in the.
Hey, Kaylin, can you hit the preview? Because I want to see like a bunch of these sort of stacked with each other. I'm just curious what they look like. Yeah, really nice.
Boy, I just here's one thing, and you can write, maybe take a note for Steve that when you've got two Gunnysacks of the same color in the summary, it would be nice to have a little space between.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. It's definitely more of a Steve thing. These look awesome, Kaylin. I really love the different colors of that italics font in the front.
And the emojis, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Well,
great.
it kind of breaks it up, because if the emojis weren't there, it just kind of all blends in together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the color helps and
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so this is the new tool. So reach out, let us know what you guys think of it. Again, we're kind of working on trying to build out that mentors page where people that are building, you guys are all like first generation scribers. So if you're building out stuff that we think could be valuable for other people, we'd like to help you be able to sell that to people or let people use it in any way that you want. What's that, Charlie?
Another thing to think about the Gunnysacks that I've been using is it's a great place to insert code notes. Like
Mhm.
I use purple for that. And if I've got a comment that I want to know where the code reference is for it, I just put it in there as a line. It's a checkbox. You just don't ever check it, but it's there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You just don't include that as one of the things that you check, but you like
Yeah.
put the code in of where it all came from. I see
Yeah.
what you're saying. That's pretty clever. Yeah.
So it's kind of like the little blue diamond thing. You're not going to use all of those. Well, you mark it purple. That way you don't use it.
Yeah.
But
Beautiful, Kaylin. Great work in there. It's looking awesome.
really, really
It's
awesome.
just nice, clean presentation. Love it.
This is in a beta.
This is Kaylin and Mike are working on kind of an InterNACHI based template. Isn't that right? Like that's kind of the standards that you're building it off of. Is
Yeah,
that
that's what I'm doing. Mike's doing something different.
okay? Yeah.
Is he keeping up with you?
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
I see you laughing, Mike.
I can see you two just egging each other on. That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah, that's the plan.
That's great. Well, anybody have any other scribeware questions? We kind of, Coy was kind of newer to it, and we just threw you right from the fire into the frying pan, or whatever the expression is. Coy, we kind of went straight to the fun new stuff here, because everybody else has been playing around with scribeware for a while. But I'm happy to show other things if there's anything else you want to see here. But
No, I got a lot of figuring out to do myself on it, and just using it and getting into it and being familiar with practice.
cool. Yeah. Well, let me know if you ever need any help with anything. I'm happy to help out. And
I appreciate that.
yeah. Anybody else have any questions? I know John Parks. Does this? I hope this sets off a couple light bulbs for you. That I was really been excited to show this to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see a lot of potential for how we tend to build our templates out. We've always been big on those shotgun comments,
Mm-hmm.
and they can be a little bit tricky to write, but you only write one comment and then you replace a section of that comment with a specific concern that relates to what you're looking at.
Yep.
And we've been doing that for a long time. The issue that I saw before with the bulleted lists, it was just really cumbersome to create those with that approach to comment writing. And I can see potential for a much easier process that will comply with our general approach to comment creation. So it looks good.
Did you have some narratives, John, where you'd write the narrative and then you'd have 3 or 4 sentences in a different bold or something to remind you to replace it or take it away?
I've done that.
Well,
yeah, we've all had those, and they're so easy to deal with that blue diamond approach.
Yeah. So I need to play with it some, and I think that I can speed up our template creation process with this new Gunnysack. Excuse me, I did have one quick question off on a different subject. I was wondering if anybody else was seeing an issue with, let me start with this. I tend to create a lot of check boxes for the primary deficiencies that we see in an area. I just find that to be a quick process for our guys to create a report. So I'll go through and I'll write the comments that I want for that section. And then as I assign the comment to the checkbox, I'm in that listing of all of the comments for the library section that I'm working in. I'm seeing some crazy stuff happening with the scroll as I scroll through those comments. Is anybody else seeing? It's especially a problem when I get near the bottom of the list. I can't control the scroll.
It won't stay. That's been an annoyance for years.
Okay.
And I have.
I'm not the only one.
No, I have lists that you continually have to drag the bar back down to find it, and every time you click on one, it goes back up to the top. And
right,
I think
I
those of
don't
us
have that, but I don't think I have so many check boxes built
yeah,
out.
you don't have that many long lists.
John, if you could capture that and get that to Steve, would be awesome.
Sure.
We're right in that process. That's the kind of thing we're trying to clean up right now.
But honestly, the Gunnysack is fixing a lot of that. My lists are getting shorter and shorter as a result because I don't have all the defects in those lists. Those lists now are separated out. So I'm really fixing a lot of that problem.
Okay.
Kaylin, you built out so many of these Gunnysacks, and Mike, have you guys noticed that it's just shrinking your library? I mean, can you just like get it where now you're just, when you're doing reports, you're just grabbing a couple different comments basically?
Yeah, I have.
I mean, that's the amazing thing, is just the amount of time you'll spend finding a narrative comment that you want goes to almost zero. I mean, we can practically get it down to where you just have one comment in each section, or maybe a few more than that. But it's like you could choose your masonry chimney comment or your metal chimney comment, you know, and now you have two comments. But either way, it's just such a better amount of data to deal with, and yet you're not sacrificing a thing. You still got all that granular detail available to you.
I haven't gone through my electric library and gotten rid of all the ones I can yet, but it started out at 750. It's down to 300 now, plus 28 Gunnysacks. I expect most of those in that old library will be able to disappear. They'll mostly be captions.
Yeah, I mean, and you could take some of them, like, you know, like GFI protection, you might turn into a descriptive thing where it's just explaining how GFI protection works and what the modern standard is and why we use them and stuff. But now it doesn't have to be a whole repair thing. Like, that's just wrapped up with one repair item. So I think we can start moving a lot of our older narratives that mix description with repair item and just make them more descriptive comments. That's kind of where I'm trending with some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Any other?
Are some people on this call going to be down at the ASHI conference in Orlando?
Is that happening? What's the latest on that? Do you know, Alex?
I'm getting emails about it.
Yeah.
Isn't it in January?
Yeah.
I'd like to go. One real thing that I would like is we need a scriber to build some Florida templates for it. We get downloads from Florida, and I always cringe. I mean, my template in Florida just can't be good at all. Anyway.
Well, I think the Gunnysack will help with that, Dylan. We get a template that is mostly
well, that is one of the things that we're hoping for with these Gunnysacks, is that the people who are building out these templates, like Charlie, like Mike and Kaylin, like John Parks, that these templates could be much more universal because they're just in easier to modify and make them more regional. So that's exactly what we're hoping. Yeah, John, did you have a question, John Hanson?
Yeah, it's real minor, and it's probably pretty old and pretty low on your priority. But you remember when I asked for the date in the header, the date of the inspection to be changed to month, day, year? You've got it as year, month, day.
I'm just going to it right now.
And I don't think it ever got changed in terms of what I've seen.
Now, is that in the finished report or like on?
Here, I'm pretty sure it's finished.
Yeah, so like when I look at it here, it's showing August 24th with the time. And click on it and you can fiddle all that. I wonder what let's preview.
You think it got changed?
No, you're right. It's year, month, date.
And that's, I hate to say it because I love people all over the country, or I mean, all over the world, including Canada and Europe. But Americans don't get it.
Yeah. No, no, you're totally right. That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, he asks your birthday. You
Birthday.
don't put the date, year first, do you?
It's so true. That's great. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I'll report back to Steve, John. That's a great.
Yeah, I put that in months ago, and I said, well, it'll come along sooner or later. But since we're talking,
I think Steve will appreciate that. Wasn't that easy?
It reminds me of one of my favorite articles I read was in the New Yorker years ago, and it was about the Olympics were coming, and he was trying to sort of explain why Americans don't totally understand the Olympics. And he goes, America is to sports what Australia is to animals. We have all the weird stuff and we think it's normal.
yeah.
I thought that was such a great way to open a story about America and sports in the Olympics. But anyway.
Dylan, thank you very much. I got to run. Take
Yeah,
care.
great seeing you, Alex. And I think that we will probably be at Inspection World. So I haven't committed to it yet, but I think I'll plan on being there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't imagine making a decision before December. I just,
I might, but I need to.
I just don't know where things are going.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you going to go, Alex?
Well, I don't know. I want to get in the same room with some of you guys and bring my computer down and
Yeah.
have at it for 20 minutes or so. Just
Well, if you're going to be there, if you're going, when you actually decide to go, please let me know, and that will inform our decision. But
oh, I will for sure.
I suspect we will end up being there, but we'll see.
We'll go with you, Dylan.
Nice, Kaylin. I like it. Well, maybe we can get a little crew down there. That'd be fun.
I think a Scribeware weekend in Seattle would be pretty good too.
Yeah, we were scheming up a Scribeware Alaska fishing trip to all work on our template.
That's right.
I'm not sure how much template work would get done, but we sure would have fun. All right. Well, cool, guys. Great seeing everyone. So just so everybody knows, I'm going to try to be doing these meetups twice a month now, and we can go over whatever anybody feels like. If there's nothing, we don't have to even do them. I think we're going to try to make them so people can sign up, so I kind of can better gauge the interest level on them and stuff. But any feedback is welcome on those. I want to try to sort of create a community where we can all help each other with these things. That's kind of the goal. So, but fun seeing everybody. I love our community. Great to have you guys on here.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you, Dylan.
Are you recording this by any chance?
Yeah, I have recorded this, so I might share this just because this.
Yeah, because I kind of missed part of it, and I just want to review, the steps.
Totally, Clark. Yeah, you probably missed some of the Gunnysacks stuff. So I'll try to get every once in a while the Zoom doesn't record, like the recording fails on me, but as long as I'll try to get this published out and put up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'll try to catch up on another meetup.
Cool.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah, great, guys. Have a nice day. Good seeing everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.